What's going on, Rovers? It's Mr. Shalott back with another video. Today, we're going to be looking at our portrait posters inside of Photoshop. I'm going to go through step by step on the process to create your portrait poster. I am going to go kind of fast. Feel free to pause and rewind as you're watching this back. If you need to fast forward to a certain step that you're having difficulty on in class, this video is for review. Obviously, we're going to have the full length lesson in class, but if you're absent or need a refresher, that's what this is for. So I'm going to go ahead and load up Photoshop. All right, and for today, we're going to be using this picture here of the rock. All right, just for time purposes, I've already gone through and used my magnetic lasso and went around, cropped him out. Okay, when you're finished, you're going to want to make sure you go into your quick mask and edit your selection. Make sure you have just his head selected. We don't need any of that background, that gray photo drop that he has. It is important when you're selecting your pictures online, as we covered in class, that they are looking directly into the lens of the camera. They have to be looking straight ahead. They cannot be looking to the side. You should be able to see both sides of their face equally, right down the center of this particular picture as we look at the rock. All right, the line is going to go directly down the middle of his nose. It can't get any better of someone looking directly at the camera. That's what you need to find when you're locating your images. Okay, so after you've done that and you've set your area of what you're going to do, we're going to set up our new document. All right, so inside of Photoshop, I would go to File and New. And it's probably not showing you that window right now. So let me stop sharing and share out the new document window. Where is it? There we go. All right, so when we're looking at this window and you're setting up your new document, it's important that you go over up here at the top. We're going to click on Print, okay? And under Print, you would click on Tabloid. Now, the page size of a tabloid piece of paper is 2 pieces of paper butted up against one another, which is 11 by 17. That will be the size automatically set for you. Remember, we have to accommodate for when we print. We're going to have 1/4 inch margins, which means we have to take 1/2 inch off both 11 and 1/2 inch off of 17. So our numbers will not be 11 by 17. They will be 10.5 and 16.5. Those are the numbers that you need for this assignment. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and hit create. Okay, and we'll have our new document. Let me share out the screen so we can get back over to Photoshop. There we go. Okay, you guys should be seeing the screen now. Now, our background of this particular document, we want to make sure we're filling that with black. Okay, so if I come over here, I press and hold on the gradient tool, and I'm going to press and hold, get the paint bucket tool, click to fill, and the background will turn black. Okay, we can come over here to our background layer, and we can rename our background layer. We'll just call that black background. All right, hit OK, give it a name. Now it's called black background. We're looking good. We're going to switch back over to the picture of the rock. Okay, here's our picture of the rock. All right, you're going to go up to the edit menu and copy it, or press Command C on your keyboard. You'll switch back over to your new document that we just created, and we will paste it on the page. Okay, once it's on there, you're going to size that picture of the rock up real nice and big. So we're going to just grab the corner, okay, and make sure you're doing it proportional. Okay, you don't want to be stretching them or something like that. If his ears run off the page, that's okay. All right, we can make his head real nice and big here. Okay, we want to make sure we're leaving equal amount of space on both top and bottom of our document. So I'm going to try and get that there in the middle. All right, and then to lock it in, press Return or Enter on your keyboard to lock it in. All right, now you should have a ruler that runs across the top and the left-hand side of your window. If you do not have that ruler, you're going to press Command R on your keyboard. So when I press Command R, it's turning it off and turning it back on. Okay, you got to have your ruler on there. We're going to change our ruler to make sure it's showing in inches. So if you right click on that ruler, it might be in pixels and you'll see a bunch of very large numbers. You're going to right click on that and change it to inches. Okay. We're going to draw a line right down the middle of our document. Okay. Our document is 10.5 inches. Half of 10.5, okay, is 5.25. So we're going to drag our line over here from 5.25 and drop that directly on our page. It should be running right down the middle of our document. Okay. That teal line that you have, you might have to move your person, in this case, the rock. I might have to move him right or left to make sure it's right down the middle of his nose. That is super important. Okay. So if I get on the rock layer, I would click on over here. Right now it's called layer 1. I'm going to rename that rock. Okay. And then I could just use the arrow keys on my keyboard, kind of bump that over. Okay. You want to make sure that's running right down the middle of his forehead. Okay. We need to take the color out of this photo. To take the color out of the photo, you're going to go to image, come down to adjustments. You got to be on the rock layer. Okay. Go to image, adjustments, and desaturate. That will take the color out of the photo. Okay. We're also going to start a new layer and make half of this image black. Okay. So to do that, I'm going to get my rectangular marquee tool. I'm going to press and drag from the top left-hand corner of our document to the middle right-hand corner at the bottom. We're going to start a blank layer down here at the bottom, and I'm going to fill that in with black. So you can get your paint bucket and then just click the fill. You should be seeing half of your person's face, in this case, the rock. Okay. I'm going to rename layer 1 to black. Blackout left, we'll call it. Okay. So we've got all of our layers named down here at the bottom. That's important. Okay. You always want to make sure you're naming your layers. All right. And now we need our quote. Okay. For time purposes, I've gone out and gotten a quote here. Okay. The quote that we have, all right, is be humble, be hungry, and always be the hardest worker in the room, The Rock. Okay. So what you're going to do is you're going to draw a text box. Okay. And you can do this directly on this image, or if you're getting it from the internet, it really doesn't matter. But so I don't have to switch windows. I'm going to press and drag my text box, drop a text box here. All right. And when we're setting this up, I'll use a smaller font so we can kind of see everything. All right. The name of the font that you want is called Impact. It's important that you're using the Impact font. All right. And I'm just going to type what they have. Please make sure your caps lock is on. Okay. So we're going to type be humble. And I'm not going to type the periods. Be hungry. And always be the hardest worker in the room. And then I will bump down and then just type The Rock. Right. So that's what we need. We need to get our quote. I'm only doing it on this document, so I don't have to switch tabs and try and remember everything. So at this point, I can copy my text. I'm going to just press and drag over my text here. Okay. And I can go Command C on my keyboard or edit copy. All right. And then once you have it copied, we're going to switch back over to our new document. So here's our document of The Rock. I now need to draw a very large text box. I'm going to get my type tool, start on the left. Okay, press and drag a nice big text box, half of our page. All right, and then go ahead and paste that text. Now the text that I paste ends up being really small. I'm going to bump up the size. If you look over here on the right, okay, this is the font that I'm currently using. It's only 5 point or something like that right now. But if I press on this number and drag to the right, okay, that font will get much larger. Okay, so as I drag to the right, if your font is not, I probably should have went over this, but if your font is not white like you need it up at the top of the screen, okay, you have your name of your font, which is Impact, the size that you're using, and then right here in this white box, you would click and change your font color. Okay, so the font color should be white. We also want to make sure we're doing an alignment. Our text should be aligned to the right. Okay, so we're going to choose the align right button, so our text is nice and straight on one side there. All right. And we can go ahead and we can even make our text a little bit bigger. And I'll explain why in a second, because right here is our leading. All right. The leading is going to determine how close our letters are together. So as I drag this in this direction, I can get those letters to be closer to one another. And ultimately, what you want is you want your letters to be very close to the line that's above it. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and drag that up. All right. And if you wanted your letters to be a little bit taller, okay, than what they currently are, you can click on this button here at the top, right here, and it'll bring it up and we can stretch our text. So maybe I wanted my letters to just be, you know what, I want to bump that up to so they're a little bit taller. Now, when I mess around with those numbers, okay, if I'm adjusting the leading there, okay, ultimately we want to leave very little room in between that and the next line. Now we got to do some adjustments. Okay, I'm going to put the first word be on a line all by itself. It says be humble, be hungry. We'll go ahead and put hungry on a line by itself, and always be the hardest. It looks like hardest needs to be on a line by itself. Worker in the room. I think that looks pretty good. We might want to go a little bit smaller. Okay, so if that's the case, you can come over and, bump your font down to a little bit smaller. All right. You're going to have to play around with it. Okay, ultimately, what size you're going to need. Everyone's going to use different numbers. You can't just copy the ones that I'm using here on the demo. Okay, and we want to make sure that, our fonts are real nice and close to one another. Okay. So something like that. Now, when I deselect my text, this is what I end up with. I can press and drag this up and down. All right. Now, ultimately, what you want to do is you want to try and get his other eyeball. So if you're looking at his eyeball here on the right, you know that his other eyeball is going to be directly across from that. You want to try and have some text in that space. So I'm going to slide this down. So the words always be are directly in line with where his eyeball is going to be. Okay, so you want to align your text exactly where you know his eyeball is going to align. Okay, now with your text, you want to make sure that you're leaving some room. You don't want your letters to be right on the line. You do have to leave some black there, some spacing, but your text should be kind of close to one another. So I think this looks really good. All right, ultimately, you're going to end up using different font numbers and things like that. It's never going to match what you're looking at right now, but you can always make that adjustment. All right, let's go back to the picture of the rock. The rock has a very hard edge running around the perimeter of him right now. So where his head ends, it hits that black and there's a very hard edge all the way around him. What we're going to do is kind of fade that out. So if we come over to our eraser tool, okay, we're going to choose the eraser and we're going to go to the top of the screen here. Under our general brushes, you want to make sure you have a soft brush selected. Okay, as you adjust the size of that brush, that's how big of a brush you'll end up using. All right, and then you can come over to the document and start using it. Okay, so I want to make sure I have a large enough brush that I can see. So on your keyboard, if you hit those bracket keys that are right next to the letter P, you can make your brush that much bigger. I'm going to go ahead and do that up here so you can see it happen. All right, and then as I come across the edge of him, it's going to fade out. Okay, now because I'm doing this Zoom call recording, it's not exactly working. I can't see the circle that you would normally see with the brush, so it's going to be a little bit more difficult for me to try and do it on camera here, but we'll just go around here. You can see that his head is starting to fade off into the sunset there. We don't have that hard edge anymore. Okay, so you just want to use your eraser tool, just tap along. Okay, it should fade out. Should not have that solid line. Okay, as we're doing this. So I'm not going to go all the way around just for time purposes. So you'd come all the way down and along his chin. Okay, you kind of want that to fade out rather than having that hard edge. All right, so now back to our text. If we get on our text layer, you're going to want to select your magic wand. So second tool down on the right, you press and hold, get your magic wand. click the white space. Once you have the white space selected, you go up to the select menu and you're going to choose similar. Select similar. Once you've done that, you'll see all of the text now is highlighted. Okay, once all of the text is highlighted, we are ready to come over to our layers palette. I am going to turn off the eyeball in front of my text so that text disappears, but you'll notice it still has the selection. Okay, and then if I go to my blackout left layer, all I have to do is on my keyboard, I'm going to press delete. And when I press delete, it will reveal him underneath there. Okay, so as we take a look, we can see that eyeball is exactly where we want it. All of the text is shining through and everything looks real nice. Okay, now we want to add a stroke to this. So in the dark areas, we can still read the text. If we look at the bottom here where it says the rock, we can't really read the word the because it goes out into the black. So in order to add that stroke, you make sure you're on your blackout layer. You're going to go to layer, layer style, and stroke, layer, layer style, stroke. And after you select that, okay, this box will appear on the screen. You are going to make sure you're putting a white stroke. Okay, you would click on this box and select the color that you need. And it should be 2 pixels. Okay, nothing more than 2 pixels. So I hit OK. And now if we zoom in and we take a look at this document, every single letter is going to have that line that surrounds each of the text there. Okay, which is great. That's what we wanted. The only unfortunate thing that happens when we do that is if we zoom in and we take a look at the center here, we now have a white line that runs down the middle of our document, just like our text does. Okay, we need to get rid of this box. So what you'll do is over in your toolbox, we have our rectangle tool. It's at the very bottom right above the magnifying glass. You're going to select that tool. Okay, and then you're going to come over here and you're going to press and drag a rectangle. You're going to run that rectangle the length of the document. Okay, so you're just going to drag down and go all the way down. It might take you a few minutes, or you can do this when you're zoomed out too. You don't have to do it like I'm doing it right now. But all right, so I'll just leave it there. And then if I zoom out, okay, I can stretch it longer. So if I zoom out here, hopefully I can just grab the end and pull that all the way down. Okay. And double check your work, just zoom in, make sure that that white line there disappeared. Okay. If it didn't, get your, and go ahead and just stretch it out a little bit. Okay. So when we switch tools and we take a look, now it's not there. We can't see it. Okay. It's all being blacked out, which is exactly what we wanted. Okay. So we'll zoom back out so we can take a look at our document. So far, so good. All right. If you would like to add the signature to this, okay, a lot of people love to add the fake autograph to the document because it really looks good with a white autograph, what would look like a white paint pen if you're getting an actual autograph. So I'm going to go ahead and grab one of those images real quick. Let me just go online here and get the rock autograph. You guys probably can't see my screen right now because I have it on Photoshop. Just bear with me. I will be right back in the program in just a second. And basically, you got to find a picture that has the rock's signature. And I will dump that into Photoshop. And here we are. Okay, so I'm back in Photoshop now. We have our picture of the rock. Okay, basically what needs to happen, we'll wait for the bell here. All right, so I like to take my rectangular marquee tool and just draw a box around the autograph itself. Okay, and once I do that, again, you get your rectangular marquee tool. You're going to start there, press and drag your box. Okay, so you have your selection. And then if you go to image and crop, that gets rid of all the other crap. All we want to keep, all right, is the black selection. So I'm going to get my magic wand. I will click on the black area. Actually, no, we'll click on the white area. So I'll get my magic wand. I'll click anywhere in the white, And then I'm going to go to select and choose similar. And now I have all of the white selected. Okay. But we don't want the white, we want the black. So if we go up and I go to select and I choose the inverse, now I have just the autograph selected. Okay. So I have the autograph selected and ultimately we're going to fill that in. So if I go to edit and fill, okay, and under edit and fill, we're going to change the fill to white, hit OK. And now our autograph is white. At that point on your keyboard, do a Command C to copy it, switch over to your Rock document. We're going to go ahead and paste that. All right. Now, when we paste that on the page, it's going to be extremely small until we grab it. Go ahead, make that a little bigger, press return to lock it in, and then we can put that Rock signature right down there at the bottom. Okay. And there we go. That's our document. We're ready to print. Hopefully this was able to help you. If you got stuck on any parts, please go back, rewatch the video. And if anything was just too gibberish for you, just throw a hand up and I'll come over and help you. All right. Good luck, Rovers, and I will talk to you in class.